Hello, I'm Brandy Agerbeck of LooseTooth.com, and since 1996, I have worked as a graphic facilitator. So I go into events, all sorts of different types of events with my roll of paper and my markers and my listening skills, my thinking and organizing skills, and my drawing skills, plus fantastic facilitation experience, and I'm there to visually support these events in all sorts of beautiful ways. Now, this has been an extremely gratifying career. Very, very thankful to have done this work for so long and to work to my strengths. And right here, right now, I'm in a position where I'm doing less of that work, being the one person in the room drawing for the group, and moving into more teaching and speaking, and teaching folks all these skills for themselves. Now, I super duper love the visual thinking skills, which anyone can use no matter what their role is. And some of the resources are built specifically for those of us who want to be graphic facilitators when we grow up. So I want to talk a little bit about the pros and the cons of this specific work. Again, being that one person in the room or a couple people in the room if you're teaming up, but you are there primarily focused on being the visual support for those folks in the room doing the work they're doing. Now, visual support can mean a bunch of different things, but primarily, it often is mapping out presentations and conversations on giant sheets of paper. It can take different forms. You can be facilitating with other kinds of visual tools. It can be doing things like building templates, co-designing events with facilitators, with your client leads. But generally, it's all about the visual support, the visual tools, or you as the primary visualizer in support of that work. How can you support that group's process with your visual thinking skills and your facilitation skills? So that's what we're here to talk about, the pros and the cons. I've debated back and forth whether to start with the pros or start with the cons, but I'm going to start with the pros. And that first one is that for a whole lot of people, their discovery of this work, they're saying, this is the work. This is what I was put here to do. There's very often this sense of so much discovery of, I can do that for a living and they'll pay me what? And there's, again, so much excitement, and you feel like this is the work that combines different skills I have so that I can help people kick butt in those meetings. So the good thing is that sense of discovery is extremely powerful. It's not for nothing, is that sense of this is the work for me. Going to conferences, meeting up with colleagues and saying, these are my people. They understand why this work is so important. So I think for a whole lot of people, this isn't something they just kind of like, maybe I'll be a graphic facilitator, and I'll explain that more. You'll see lots of good evidence for nobody doing that because of the cons. But generally, one of the giant pros is that sense of discovery and excitement that this is the work for me. And certainly, and this is, again, kind of here in this first phase of just starting out, there is that beautiful excitement of that sense of discovery for a whole lot of folks. Finding this work is a mid-career change. You've already had other experiences and other roles, and then you go, wait, I can do this? And again, that is what is so darn exciting. I'm a weirdo that I fell into this work when I was super young, when I was 22. Second big pro, I said, wait, I can do this for a living and I get paid what? That is the balance of time and money. You do this work well and you know how to build your business and market yourself, you get paid handsomely. It is a very specialized skill. It's a skill that takes a whole lot of energy, and it is a skill with a heck of a lot of value to those people in the room. When I started doing the work, like I said, I fell into it when I was 22. What I got paid then and what my expenses were, I could work a 6-day contract supporting a 3-day workshop and pay my bills for the month. So even at age 22, I was able to, money-wise, pay my bill, but have all this time to work on my own projects. And certainly my rate is now, holy crow, my rate is now 10 times what I got paid. I've never done that math. Seriously? Yeah. Oh my gosh. Wow. So clearly I have built my skills, built my business to a point where I get a heck of a lot of money paid per day. And sometimes I'm a little like, not sometimes, I'm often very sheepish to tell what I call normals, people who aren't the client trying to hire me. If just somebody says, hey, what do you make a day? Thankfully, people don't usually ask that. Because when I tell them how much I make a day, they're like, they think I'm rolling around in bills, right? They think I got that, like, superstar lifestyle, which I don't. I pay my bills. I'm happy for that. I'm very happy for this career. But there is a very tantalizing, very exciting time for money equation. Again, as you develop your skills, not only in the room supporting the group, but also, let's put this guy over here because this is where you're at with more experience, but also the business skills. Huge part of it. And that's exactly why I'm building out Graphic Facilitator Confidential, that specific course about the business side. Because I want you to be this darn excited about what you get paid and what you do for it. But as sexy as it is to hear, it takes a lot of work to get there. Again, you'll see those on the red circles. I think this is a huge, 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 huge component. And I know it may not feel so concrete, but it is amazing. And that is that you are in that room supporting that group, and they are there to make positive change. I know among our colleagues there are conversations around what kind of clients are you not going to work with? Where are your ethics, where are your morals, and who do you choose to work with? I very rarely had to make a decision that, nope, I don't believe in that company, because generally, at least up to this point, the companies that are hiring folks like us, they're progressive companies. They're trying to do really good stuff out in the world. Not to say I've been in love with absolutely every client, but I think so many people have this outside view of giant organizations that they are evil. And yes, I'm not a huge fan of everything being for the stakeholders, and I'm really glad to hear about businesses redefining what success is to them. But aside from generally getting frustrated about that whole, stakeholder thing, I'm not in nefarious meetings. I've got, like 2 or 3 stories I could tell you off the record, off the video. But truly, it's, we're working with people making positive change. They're trying to get good stuff, trying to make good stuff happen. Sometimes if you're working for folks like NGOs or, beautiful foundation work, that is unmistakable positive change. Nobody can argue that they aren't doing good work in the world. You may not get super excited when you're working for a corporate client and their positive change is selling more of something, but that's what their business is. That's what they are there to do. Of course, I do love when I'm working on projects that are about corporations that are working on the culture of their organization or working on their processes to make it a positive experience for everybody involved. That is awesome. This is a case where my partner, Jeremy, wonderful human being, he is working in very opposite work, which is security in a hospital in a very poor section of Chicago. Unfortunately, this poor man sees the worst in people every day. And bless him for his patience and his skill and his patience and his kindness to be in that environment in his work. I get to see really awesome, great, positive change in folks all the time. And it's extremely gratifying. And to, of course, not only see it and see the work they're doing, but to be there in explicit support of what they are there to do. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. Also, along with that, I think a whole lot of us who do this work, we are here because we truly have a heart of service. We are here to help people. I think for a lot of people, there's a huge amount of empathy involved. There's a huge amount of intuition involved. There's a whole lot of, I also like kind of the know-it-all part. Like I get to be really good at this particular thing. Like I know this role backwards and forwards that I can then help that client. But it really does come from this heart of service. Yes, there are some people who do graphic facilitation that think it's about them. Thankfully, they're in the minority. We're really here to help our clients do fantastic work. And it is extremely, extremely powerful work to do. The way we can transform what happens in that room, because we are visualizing it, is not for nothing. And along with that, even though it is extremely, extremely hard work, it's also extremely gratifying work. A huge reason we don't get those negative clients that people have to think, well, I'm morally opposed to working with this client. Huge part of the reason there aren't a whole lot of those is because the work itself is all about transparency. We're taking those conversations in those rooms and we are putting them on paper. We are making them visual. We are making them tangible. We're making them an object, an unmistakable part of the environment as they're having that meeting to help them see their work in new ways, build on what they're doing, all this good stuff. And it is transparent. And for some clients, some cultures, that transparency is exactly why they don't want that person in the room. I've had only a couple examples where people are like, whoa, that got too transparent. And I did have one client who I was there to help support their process. I was there to make these drawings, and with their specific work, the decision was made to destroy the drawings. There weren't digital copies, there weren't the physical copies. And because I so believe in the bigger part of what I'm doing is helping their process, and the much smaller part is about having a finished physical object, I was perfectly okay with that. But that was a case where we needed the visuals to support us in the room, but that was not going to leave those four walls. But generally speaking, it's that transparency, it's that getting to see positive change. Of course, it's the people come up to you and they love you. I think so many people find this work, especially over here, they find the work so darn scary and intimidating. And I'm like, wait a second, guys. What you need to understand is one of the big three powers of graphic facilitation is the power of making those participants feel listened to. You have heard what they said, you put it in your brain, you processed it, you figured out where it needed to go on the page, and you drew their voice on that drawing. And they have now been listened to. They are going to be your freaking new best friend. Like, who does not want validation like that? I am a professional validation machine. So there's a whole lot of gratification that they see their work on the wall. They see how much these drawings have helped them in that meeting. These are not meetings where people just think, oh, can I get back to my desk? They're thinking, wow, I'm looking at all the work we've done, and this has been incredibly productive. So you are in a room being appreciated the heck out of. Sometimes it's just the novelty. It's not my favorite part of the business, but a lot of folks, it's just like, oh my God, I've never seen this. This is so neat. And that novelty factor can also work where, they just feel appreciated by their bosses, that their bosses brought somebody in like us to do this work because they've been listened to. They can see their work. It has been made transparent. It has been made physical. And oh my gosh, that is so darn exciting. So here we got one of the big pros of this work is how gratifying it is. Now here's something that has a definite pro and a definite con, and that is creating your own career. Like I said at the very beginning, I was able to do one workshop a month and pay my bills. Didn't have a lot of bills at that time, but that was extremely appealing, that I was creating my own career on my own terms, and I did get to choose. Well, I guess in the early days, I was less about choice, more about paying bills. But over time, you get to choose exactly how you want to shape this specific business for yourself. So this is a definite plus, is you get to call the shots for your career. So those are some of the big, giant green circles that make this work so darn exciting. And now I want to talk about the red circles. Ready for the red circles? Now, again, I said I debated whether to start with the green or whether to start with the red, because there's a lot of reds. I'm not going to lie to you. I want to be very clear. I know a lot of people, they've got this amazing momentum, intention, excitement, discovery of this work, and this work is hard. So let's talk about what some of these red circles are, and certainly it's a huge reason why I'm building my two big comprehensive courses about graphic facilitation. Graphic Facilitator Confidential about the business, and Gold Star Graphic Facilitation about the work in the room itself. So this is how you do the work of graphic facilitation. Over here is how you get the work of graphic facilitation. But just like, one of the big appeals of this work is you get to build your own career, it also works as a big negative. I have to create my own career. And how the heck do I do that? Especially when you're just starting out and you're like, I don't even know how to do the work in the room. I'm excited about it, but don't ask me how the heck it happens. So you're not only building the skills, you're also building the business, and there's so much opportunity, so much blue skies, I believe. I know other people have different opinions about scarcity or opportunity, but there's so many different ways you can shape your own business, which is super exciting and super scary. Unfortunately, a big con is this business is not build it and they will come. And I'm missing my other quotation marks. Now, so folks who may not know this reference, there's an American movie called Field of Dreams about a gentleman who was visited by a baseball playing ghost, or is it something with his father? I've actually never seen the movie, but this is so often quoted. The idea is that this ghost comes to him and says, build it and they will come, meaning build this field, this baseball field, and the players will come to the field. And that's such a key part of this movie. But there's so many times that people feel in different ways in their life, you build that field and they will come. The reason I'm using this analogy is, unfortunately, it's not you build a graphic facilitation website and you magically get clients. It unfortunately does take a lot more work than that. But certainly one of the things I talk very explicitly about in Graphic Facilitator Confidential is exactly what are some of the best practices on that website that it's going to help the heck out of you to get those people onto the field, in that analogy, to get those new client opportunities. But it's not that simple. I can say for me, that was some of what I had going for me 20 years ago, was for the very, very, very few people who knew what the work was, when they searched for it, they found me because there was very, very, very few people online talking about it. But these days, there's so much more noise. The internet is gajillion times bigger. There's far more choices. So unfortunately, it is not build it and they will come, meaning you don't just get to say you're a graphic facilitator and build a site and then magically get clients. Sadly. Very certainly with this giant thought bubble with a big old question mark, overwhelm. This is such a huge part of this work because there are so many different possibilities. And unfortunately, there's overwhelm in the business side and there's overwhelm in the work itself because it is extremely, extremely intense work. Now, it's very, very gratifying work. It is also very, very intense work. So I could put this overwhelm anywhere on here, but we'll put it over there. Now, I made this diagram for Graphic Facilitator Confidential with this general progression of you start down here, you end up somewhere higher over here, and there's this progression of just starting out and building your skills and building your business, getting more business, seeing the patterns, starting to build your systems, growing your business, getting more clients, all that good stuff, to the point where you know the skills in the room and you know how to run your business flawlessly. So that is exactly where we want to be as a general trajectory over time. And I'm very happy to say I've been able to do that for my own business. But big red circle, it's very unsteady work. It just is. It's very nerve-wracking. Certainly what I want all of us to do, especially with what I'm teaching in Graphic Facilitator Confidential, is to have the business systems down and to be networking and getting ourselves out there and educating new clients to get a little bit of steadiness. But this is not clockwork work. You know, yes, if you're the type of practitioner, the type of colleague who you court annual conferences, that's the work you want to do, and you do such a good job that they ask you back year after year after year, fantastic. That can give you more steady work. If you partner with a fantastic facilitator who wants you on every project, fantastic. That can lead to more steady work. But this work is never, and there's probably other examples that'll come up in the course, it's never steady work. Clients will ask me how many days of work a month do I work. Did I already say this in this video, or is that the previous one? It can be anywhere from 0 to 8 days. I think I might have already said it. It's okay. If not, ta-da. There's no, even though I can see some patterns over time, over the seasons, it doesn't always work that way. I can't always guarantee that spring and fall will be extra busy and summer and winter will be slow. Generally that's true, but it is extremely unsteady. If you are coming from work that gives you a steady paycheck, this part of the business is going to make you crazy. Like I said, it is extremely gratifying work. It is also extremely intense, hard work. You are ultra present with that group. You are pouring all of your listening. I like to say that I listen with my whole body. I wish there was a way for me to dial that down, because I'm listening with my whole body all day and I am wrecked at the end of the day. This work is standing on your feet. This work is that huge amount of focus. This work also can be very hard on your heart, and you're working with, there's so much empathy in the work. You could be hearing really hard stuff. Those people may be making positive change, but they may be working in really difficult circumstances. So it is very hard, intense work. Now, happily, it's also very gratifying, and when you build your business, it always also can pay you handsomely. But this is not easy. If you want easy, this is not the work for you. But again, it's very, very hard work, but it's also extremely gratifying work. Um, oh, this could go so many in all three of these different phases of the work. And this is the zero idea about the work. Now, I love the opportunity to educate somebody new about what the heck this work is. I've got that spiel down. But this is a very frustrating part of the work, especially when you're starting out, is a huge part of your marketing is just saying over and over and over again to every new person, graphic facilitation is, and I think some people, this is what stops them. They simply just don't want to have to describe this yet again, and they kind of default to saying something like, well, I'm a web designer, or I'm a designer, like, just leave me alone. Because this work is still extremely unknown to most people, there is a whole lot of education. Now, part of this is educating yourself when you first start, right? What the heck is this work? How do I do this work? What are my choices? How do I get better at this? All that stuff. But you are always, 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 always going to have those normals out in the world that have no idea. So this is a definite con, is you're doing work. Even going back to my family, years and years and years ago, I built this marketing piece that was, the physical object I was giving new leads when I was in events. And I was so proud of it. I put so much work into this thing. And I was back home in my home state of Minnesota, and I was on my uncle's back deck, and we were having dinner. And I said, hey, my favorite Uncle Carl, I'm like hand him this thing, this object, these images, this like basically kind of like a brochure. And I said, look at what I did. And he just goes, what is this? These are just cartoons. And I was like, yeah, that's what I do for a living. And as much as he and I are totally simpatico and we adore each other, there was a huge gap between what I did for a living and what he thought I did. And that's going to always happen. That's it. There are professions where people can point and say, I'm a hairdresser, and you understand what that means. They're probably going to cut somebody's hair, color somebody's hair, that kind of thing. You can look at those famous sports people and you see precisely what part of what their work is. But this is work. A whole lot of people have zero idea what it is. And that's just part of the deal. This is so darn hard for a whole lot of people. And this is something that I think that for me personally, I think I'm just kind of a freak show in this aspect, which has served me really well for this particular red circle, which is that it's really hard to gain confidence and know where you stand in this work because there is so little guidance. There are folks who, like me, teach this work. There certainly is more orientation of how you fit in the field when you go to the annual conferences of the IFVP, International Forum of Visual Practitioners, or if you find the regional groups that are meeting up. Certainly seeing others work can help you orient and decide, like, oh, okay, here's my strengths, here are my weaknesses, here's kind of how I stand. But it's really, really hard to get that sense of that sort of center of gravity in your own confidence when there's very little frame of reference. And I think for a lot of folks, when they're in this phase, all they can see is their weaknesses. It can be very hard to start seeing what your strengths are. In this middle phase, here you see all weaknesses. Here you start understanding better what your weaknesses and your strengths are. And here you really should be working to your strengths. And understanding what is the work that you are uniquely qualified to do, and that's the work you do. But I was the type of person, I don't know where exactly this came from, I think I was born with it. There was enough center of gravity, enough self-awareness, enough sense of self, enough confidence, that the lack of guidance, the lack of anything, I was perfectly fine with. And some of you may have that, and oh, bless you, that's so awesome. But lots and lots of you are like, I do better, good luck, Brandy. Like, good for you, not good luck. Good for you, Brandy. I don't know what you're talking about. This is very difficult work in the fact that you have to have so much self-awareness, so much of your own internal motivation. Yes, you're going to get lots and lots of that praise and gratification when you're in the room. But once you're not in the room, you're kind of in deep space. There's not a whole heck of a lot. of people who can say, hey, this is where you're at. Fantastic, here's your gold star. That's, part of the reason I say I called the course about the work in the room Gold Star Graphic Facilitation. It's not so much that I can give everyone gold stars as we go through the course, it's just more that I want you to be doing that gold star level of work. And certainly in that course, there is as much guidance as I can put into that online course about the work itself. And please enjoy that. Like, that is a definite plus of that course. But generally speaking, when you're out in the world doing the work, it's you have to find your own center of gravity. You have to make your own choices about how you develop over time, because the wider world has no idea what you're doing. And it is difficult. This is a very, very, very specific thing, and it is certainly why I built, one of the many reasons I built Graphic Facilitator Confidential about the business. I think one of the biggest things I hear when I'm talking to colleagues is the definite con of hunting down payments. I don't have this problem. And I don't have this problem because I'm putting in in my systems, in the way I run my business, is a contract and deposit invoices and final invoices, and it is crystal clear how I communicate with the client. Certainly, I want you to, if this is your primary problem, join me in Graphic Facilitator Confidential, because I'm going to make this not happen anymore. If you follow my advice in the course, this will not happen. Or it'll happen extremely rarely, and you'll know exactly what to do. But because you're freelance, because a whole lot of us love the work in the room, but we don't like the business, we haven't built the structures that keep this stuff from happening. So you end up spending a stupid amount of time just making sure you get paid. Like that actually is a really simple thing to solve with some really good structure and systems in place. But I'm going to put this over here because I hope that this is something folks get over earlier in their career. This is a little more broad, but kind of in that same vein, is one of the cons is working for Yahoos. And this Yahoos can take different forms. Certainly Yahoos who don't pay you, right? Or take a whole lot of effort to get that payment. Yahoo Clients can be, I consider this a Yahoo client, which is the folks who hire you as the shiny toy. They really don't, it still pays the bills. I don't like these kind of projects, but I still know even if somebody hired me as a novelty and they have no idea how to work with me, I'm still going to do great work at that wall. I'm still going to help facilitate the process for everybody in the room. I'm going to help them see their voices. I'm going to, be finding the patterns, finding the connections in what they're doing, and synthesizing what I'm hearing from those conversations, from those presentations. But yeah, the Yahoo clients, not a lot of fun. Again, I can have folks who really don't know how to work with me. Yahoo clients can also be toxic clients. Happily, like I said, a whole lot of folks who are hiring people like me in this specific role, they are generally positive cultures. There are definitely industries and clients that are more likely to be command and control or really toxic. And I know some people hate the overuse of the word toxic, but that's, I walk in the room and I'm seeing like the boss who's the bully, or the folks who feel like, everyone's a failure until you've overproved yourself. Oh, that sounds like a baking term because I've been watching the Great British Baking Show. But, that sense of control, micromanaging, bullying, all that gross stuff. I certainly have seen as my day rate went up, I got fewer and fewer of these people. And when my day rate goes up, I'm given more respect. It's just the deal. I'm not treated like a commodity because what it costs to get me in the room is high enough that they're like, oh, let Brandy do what she's doing. But I've also learned how to spot these clients. I know the couple industries where I definitely have, my eyes open and my ears open to, okay, let's see let's see how this goes. But the Yahoo clients are a drag. And again, that can be a whole lot of different things, but generally it's the folks who don't know what you do. They don't respect what they do. They don't know how to work with you and partner with you. And it can simply be the company culture sucks, or it can be the event was very badly run. You may not have a lot of control in the agenda, in the facilitation, in how the different moving parts for that event come together. Those are definitely Yahoos. That's the kind of thing where I show up and I realize, oh, they've put me in a dark corner where nobody can see what I'm doing. Those kind of things where it's on high Yahoo alert. So again, this can be a real drag. Certainly the more, I'm going to put the Yahoo clients over here, because as you get better and better at describing your business and telling folks what you need, you get fewer and fewer of the Yahoos. So it's not just about the day rate, it's also about the confidence you build as you understand the work you want to do, as you say no to the work you don't want to do, as you anticipate problems and advocate for yourself so you don't have those Yahoo things happening. This is, I think I've already talked a little bit about this over here, especially in this middle section. And this is the drag of reinventing the wheel with every client. And that's, like I said, that's a huge reason why I built Graphic Facilitator Confidential, the business course, because, we go through this phase, and I want you to get out of that phase. There is no reason, as you have some more experience under your belt and you're starting to see the kind of work you like to do, you're starting to identify what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses, to get out of that space, to build the systems and infrastructure. The systems and the infrastructure are the communication pieces you build that help people understand exactly who you are, what value you bring, and how to best work with you. And the systems are also things, really simple things like administrative stuff. One teeny tiny detail is, in America, if I work with a company, they are going to need my W-9 tax form, because I know my rate is high enough, they're going to have to claim that project, and I'm going to get that 1099 back from them. It's very specific to America. You in other countries have your own equivalents, but the thing is, I know that's going to happen, and instead of waiting for them to ask me, or asking me in December, because they have to prep the things by the end of January or February, whenever that is, because I know that's going to happen. One of the ways I'm not reinventing the wheel is I already have that form, and I prep it immediately, and I send it out with my contract and my deposit invoice. And I know that's a very small detail, but those are the kind of administrative things we're doing, not just the communication pieces, but the administration pieces that we're building. So we're not reinventing the wheel. We got a really good wheel, and through experience and through refinement, we have that beautifully creased wheel working perfectly. And finally, this one generally happens with more experience down the road. It's huge. It's so huge. And that is the giant red circle of burnout. Intense work, hard work. Yes, it can be very gratifying. It's still very hard work. It's hard because you're listening with your whole body. It's hard because you're totally present. It's hard because you're doing all this stuff up here between these ears and getting that stuff out on the paper. It's a type of performance that some people really, really are uncomfortable with, and they do it because they love all these things, but they don't necessarily love being on and in front of people. That has a toll on you. Time and time again, anyone who's gotten into this phase starts having those conversations with colleagues about self-care, because there's a lot of toll. There's emotional toll, there's mental toll, there's physical toll in the work. And those are the things just about doing the work, even if you love the work. There is certainly a whole lot of burnout when you just get fed up. And usually folks are getting fed up because of Yahoo clients, and they're reinventing the wheel with every project. So for those of you who feel like I still love this work, but I'm getting pretty sick of it, join me in Graphic Facilitator Confidential, because you're going to get a fresh look at your business and find how are the ways you can refine what you do, to build those systems if you don't have the systems, to change some of those details that are going to help you get those Yahoo clients out of there, help attract the right clients for what you want to do, to better understand what your strengths are, because this can be very gratifying work for a long time, but the two biggest things are, you need to build a business where you are respected by your clients, you respect your clients, you get paid handsomely, right? The other part is, the work is hard. The work is always going to be hard. How do you manage your own health in all these different ways, mentally, emotionally, physically? I said mentally, emotionally, physically. I feel like there's something else. But health in all these different aspects, because the work is going to be hard. So that's just the deal. I'm sorry. Now, some people may say this work is easy because they got paid for one day, and boy, howdy, they have all this time. And that is a gorgeous thing. That's this big plus up here. But as far as being in the room itself, it is very intense work. I do not know how to dial it in. And if I was just dialing it in, just phoning it in is the better phrase. If I'm just phoning it in and I'm not going to be serving those clients. And for me personally, with my integrity and my way of working, that's not even going to happen. Like, that's impossible. So yeah, that's a little bit about what the pros are and what the cons are. And you can see there's a lot more red circles, and it's hard work. I don't know what else to tell you. It's unsteady work. It's hard work. There's ways you can improve all these red circles. Certainly, as you get more experience and you learn to spot the problems ahead of time, and you learn when to say yes and when to say no, that's going to help all those red circles disappear or be less. Have there be less of those situations. The good news is these gorgeous green circles up here are pretty darn big, are pretty darn gratifying. It is the kind of big heart, big brain, just big way that we show up in the room and the big work we can help our clients, our participants do. So I definitely hope that this has been informative and definitely helped demystify some of this stuff about how the heck does graphic facilitation work, what are the pros, what are the cons. By all means, if you want to learn about the work in the room, join me for Gold Star Graphic Facilitation. And if you want to learn how to get into the room and build your business, join me in Graphic Facilitator Confidential. But otherwise, keep watching the videos. Definitely, please keep commenting and letting me know what you think and asking questions. And you will see me again in the next video. Certainly welcome your comments, certainly welcome your questions, and I so appreciate you watching.